Get in, loser. We're going to the moon.
Honestly, I'm just having a good vibe session because I saved my account today. If you watched the live stream, especially during all the Jerome Powell Fed meeting FOMC craziness, you knew I was down big. And by just pure luck, I somehow made it back. I was down 200,000, ended up the day about up 40,000. So a nice $250,000 turnaround for me. So I know it's cringe. I know it's a little crazy. I'm wearing my own astronaut suit, but I'm just having a good time. So here's what's going down. I'm going to be giving you all the details of what's going on with Trump, Nvidia, Powell, and the Fed, and also what Trump had to say back to that. And then we have a ton of updates related to Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, and then I also need to prep you for the continuing craziness for the remainder of the week. So this is going to be a really quick rip down of everything you need to know that happened in the world's largest casino today. So with that being said, if you enjoy these type of breakdowns, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and let's go. By the time the world's largest casino officially closed today, Wednesday, January 29th, here was the headline: S&P 500 closes lower as Fed pauses rate cuts, Nvidia resumes slide. And I know that they don't have that much space. This barely covers everything that went on today. Today was absolutely insano mode. So here's a look at the heat map from the S&P 500 as the headline related to, Nvidia had a pretty rough one. So did Tesla, but if you're bullish, I have some good news for you there. The rest of it, very much a mixed bag situation. If you look at the SPY, we vomited, we popped. The Qs vomited and popped. And right now, as I'm filming this, Tesla vomited, huge pop, currently trading just above 400. Meta, similar situation, vomited, pop, and then even Microsoft, same thing. Across the board, you're getting a lot of craziness, you're getting a lot of insanity, so please be prepared for that to be continuing, obviously at minimum in the short term. Looking at the S&P 500, it was kind of crazy. Market came down all day, options were kind of trending up, and you could see the absolute whipsaw at the end. I do want to bring your attention to what happened around 1 p.m., 1:30, so not at the Fed Fund meeting, but there was a big announcement, and you could see it a bit better here in the Mag 7, obviously a little bit more tech oriented, sold off all day, big pop, random drop right at 1 p.m. and then a strong recovery into the end of the day. But please, once again, we see a price drop and an option drop at 1 p.m. even though the Fed reported at 2. And if you want to really see the culprit, it's on the screen now, Nvidia. Nvidia, up until around noon, was just getting its teeth kicked in. Absolutely murdered. People were selling calls to the point that they started buying puts. The delta kept dropping. So the market makers were forced to hedge by short the underlying, and thus price kept going. But you'll see here at 1, it took a gigantic hit. And I want to do this in linear order. So this all happened before the Fed reported, and here's what the news was. Trump officials discuss tightening curbs on Nvidia China sales. Obviously, if they choose to do that, that could be a hit to revenue. And then it got a little bit better. Nvidia says it's ready to work with the US administration as it pursues its own approach to AI. Obviously, this is all on the heels of all that DeepSeek news, so a little bit better. But what makes me confident in still being a bull on Nvidia is the fact that we got this from old Jimbo Cramer. There is no silver lining right now with Nvidia, which makes me think that there's an absurdly attractive silver lining right now with respect to Nvidia. Wanted to share all that, and then an hour later at 2 p.m., we got the Fed interest rate decision where you can see that it remained unchanged. And we knew going into this with 99.5% certainty that there would be no change. There was at first a bearish reaction, and let me explain why. Fed holds rates steady, takes less confident view on inflation. So right there, the second part of that sentence, the fact that they didn't keep in the one line about, hey, we're going to go down to 2%, people were like, well, what are you going to do with inflation then? So remember, there's always a little bit of craziness between 2 and 230, but after that, that's when Jerome Powell was able to do what Daddy Powell normally does, stabilize the market and pumps those calls right up. Powell, we don't need to be in a hurry to adjust policy stance. Policy well positioned to deal with risks and uncertainty. So not the most absurdly optimistic, but also he was able to stabilize things, especially when people were a little freaked out that the statement on progress towards 2% inflation was removed. So obviously he was asked about it and he said, that's always going to be our goal. We just thought this was a better rhetoric for what's going on right now. Little side note for all you crypto enthusiasts, on crypto, we think banks are able to serve customers as long as they manage the risk. When he said that, pretty much all crypto and their related cousins started ripping. Now, for the second time in today's update, we're going back to the President of the United States, who had some words for the chairman of the Fed. Donald J. Trump, right after market close, said this: because Jay Powell and the Fed failed to stop the problem they created with inflation, I will do it by unleashing American energy production, slashing regulation, rebalancing international trade, and reigniting American manufacturing, but I will do much more than stopping inflation. I will make our country financially and otherwise powerful again. The Fed has done a terrible job on bank regulation. Treasury is going to lead the effort to cut unnecessary regulation and will unleash lending for all American people and businesses. If the Fed had spent less time on DEI, gender ideology, green energy, and fake climate change, inflation would never have been a problem. Instead, we suffered from the worst inflation in the history of our country. Obviously, I would love to get your thoughts on this particular statement. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Let me know in a comment below. Now, at this point in the absolutely degenerate trading day, it led us to right after market close, where we got earnings. Right after market close, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, and just so you know, tomorrow, Apple, Intel, Visa, and we have some energy plays later on this week. But let's talk about these in order. I know a lot of people are pretty excited, and as of now, things are looking pretty freaking good. We got the most news on Tesla. Tesla misses on earnings and revenue for fourth quarter. At first, that doesn't sound so good, so give me one quick second. Right here, you can see the EPS was a miss, 73 cents versus 77. Revenue was also a miss, 25.7 billion versus 27.1 billion, but there were some positives. First off, free cash flow, over 2 billion when the estimate was 1.75 billion. Then, when we really started to dive into the numbers, it got even better. Tesla just said plans for new vehicles, including more affordable models, remain on track for the start of production in the first half of 2025. For those of you who need a quick recap on the calendar, we're in 2025 right now. Tesla just said it has increased AI training compute by over 400% in 2024, making some nice leaps and bounds ahead in that. And then we got a little bit of a sneak peek here. Check this out. Tesla sees vehicle business to return to growth in 2025. Tesla Cybercab scheduled volume production starting in 2026. Very, very cool. Obviously, a quick little round of applause for Tesla. At first, the stock reacted in a negative manner, and then as people started to dive into the numbers, things got better and better. But obviously, for all of these equities, we got to wait till the market really opens tomorrow. Moving on to Microsoft. Microsoft shares slip on light quarterly Azure growth. So they did beat across the board in terms of top and bottom. Right here, you can see earnings per share, 323 versus 310, revenue, 69.6 billion versus 68.8 expectation. But at first, like Tesla, it reacted in a negative manner and it had to do with its cloud sector. Microsoft Q2 cloud revenue, just below 41 billion when the estimate was just above 41 billion. That was at first the negative response, but once again, when people start really listening to the earnings call, diving into the numbers, that's exactly why we are seeing a bit of a bounce. And last but not least, Meta. Meta beats revenue, provides soft guidance. So the common theme from all of these is at first an initial negative reaction, and as I'm filming this, they're all starting to bounce. But please pay attention to the earnings call, and really what matters is where we open up tomorrow. But anyway, Meta EPS beat 802 versus 678, revenue 48.4 billion versus 46.98, so really 47 billion. And even the revenue, the adjusted revenue, the thing that was quote unquote soft here, Meta sees the revenue within range. So everything else was a beat. And then their estimate was just, okay, it was a little soft, but still kind of at expectation. And yet at first that negative reaction was clearly seen on the three of them. So where does this leave us as a whole? Well, with respect to the S&P 500, upside gap fill to just below 607. With respect to the NASDAQ, upside gap fill to just below 528. And honestly, I'm kind of filming this live, have not scripted this. Let's see where we're at with all of these. Oh, that's beautiful. Right now, as I'm filming this, Tesla up to 403, up 3.5%. Let's take a look at Meta, also up, trading around 680, currently up slightly green on the day. And then Meta actually has returned to the red territory, but I'm kind of illustrating this because they're all very whippy. Overall, the market is in a nice bullish phase of higher highs, higher lows. Would love to see these tech juggernauts really recover in the green, and I want to see where they're at market open tomorrow. And if you want to hang out with me, we do a free live show 9 to 11, Monday to Friday. I degenerately trade my own account, so I hope to see you there. Obviously, if you enjoy these type of updates, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. That just helps me out with the algorithm, and I very much appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I'll catch you in the next one.